Okay, welcome everyone to our meeting today, our council meeting of December 14th, 2021. The time is 1:02 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone that we have a full complement of council. We have some staff that's with us. Not everybody's muted, but that's okay. And we'll welcome the public that are viewing us via live YouTube or the recorded version hereof. So at this moment then, I will read our land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge that the township of Asphodel-Norwood is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga and the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Islands First Nations. We respectively acknowledge that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Thank you. So at this time, then I would ask that we'd have a moment of silent reflection so that we may reflect upon our duties of today as councillors and for this land acknowledgement. Thank you. Thank you. And at this time, then I'll ask council if there's any declaration of any pecuniary interest at this time or a time of subject when it arises. All right, seeing no hands. We have a pretty busy meeting schedule today, some public meetings and one thing after another, and some approvals of our budget later on. So we'll be coming in and out of council from closed to, or not closed, but regular meeting to a public meeting as we go along. So just bear with us. So at this time, then I'll ask for the approval of the agenda for today, December 14th, to be approved as circulated. Motion by Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. So the council meeting minutes of November 23rd, that the minutes for this regular meeting be adopted as presented. Motion by Councillor Archer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Anything arising from those? All in favor? That's carried. Sorry, any business arising from those minutes? All right, seeing no hands, thank you. On to the consent agenda then. We have correspondence for information. So we have C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and the reports R1 from the fire chief. Motion by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor War. Is there any discussion on these? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yeah, if I could just pull C2 and R1, please.
Yes, go ahead.
So for C2, I think we're all aware of the formula-based component agreement for the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. And I think a big thanks needs to go out to both the municipal staff and provincial staff for getting this change implemented and get that ball rolling. And it's nice to see that extra funding, not only for us, but right across the province. So that was just a comment. There may be others that want to add to that.
Any other hands on that for C2? All right, I'll just highlight that if it wasn't for Candace going out above and beyond and having the meeting with our MPP or Minister David Keeney, as well as sorry, am I doing this right? Is this
I can't hear you.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
I must have had the paper over my mic. I'm sorry. So anyways, yeah, so having Candace, our CAO clerk treasurer, she had this meeting with David Pacini, our MPP, and the minister, Inga Surma. And that meeting, obviously, it was a good meeting because they listened to what our staff had to say as far as how this infrastructure money needs to be brought about for us, just for the age of everything that's going on around. And So having the premier come to Westwood was an absolute honor for our township, that's for sure. And I just want to put our hats off to Candace for going out above and beyond to help us get through this. Anyways, job well done. Anyway, thank you. Okay, you had another one there, Deputy Mayor Burt, that you pulled out, please.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mayor. It was a personnel update for the Asphodel-Norwood Fire and Rescue, and certainly there are some who are retiring. 108 cumulative years, which is amazing. So just a big thank you to all of them, and certainly a congratulations to the new captains and to the 6 new recruits. And Candace, I'm not sure if you can answer this or not, and Daryl's not here, but I know out of the 6 new recruits, one has received full training and has done his testing. Were there any others that were doing that? And then with the training that they have to go through, has that been re-implemented? Are they doing that in-person training now? Do you know?
Yeah, so the fire college is implementing in-person training. So there is modules online and modules in person. That kind of always has been, but that kind of hybrid approach is back in play. And I know they have attended in the recent months. Our fire department has attended training in person at the fire college. So the recruit training, unless there's change back to COVID related protocols and they're no longer offering in person, that will be the intention. There was a couple actually that came with maybe not all of the recruit courses, but there was more than just one that came with at least some of the courses required, which is going to alleviate some of the training burden on the 2022 budget. But as council knows, that GL line has been beefed up to ensure that it can address the new recruits coming online.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Ward.
Thank you through you, Mayor. Yes, thank you to all the new recruits for the fire department. I was just wondering, with the onboarding process, would it be after they finish the modules that they would be required to have a DZ license, and where does that responsibility fall? Or would that be something to be directed to Daryl at a later date?
It is my understanding that it's a requirement to become a recruit is to have a DZ license.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Anything else on our consent agenda? No. Okay, well, we have a motion that's been duly seconded. So our consent agenda then would be approved as circulated. All in favor then. And that's carried. Thank you. So we have no delegations and presentations at this time. So now we're on to staff and committee reports. So R2 then is Peter Deshane, our Manager of Public Works and Environmental Services. And this report is regarding tender results and award for curbside collection. Peter, the floor is yours and you're muted, sir.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. The curbside tender was advertised and sent out to various contractors, and on November 23rd, 2021 at 12 p.m. we received and opened tenders for the curbside collection of waste throughout the township. Currently, just a little bit of background. So currently waste collection is split into 3 areas throughout the township. With household waste being collected on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, depending on the area that you reside in. Collected waste is then delivered to the Peterborough County City landfill site on Bensford Road. And just during 2021, the township averaged 42 metric tons of waste per month during curbside collection. So there was only one bid received, and that was from Waste Connections of Canada. And the tender results are as follows. So for the tender term was actually for 2 years with the option of a 3rd year extension. So from January 1st, 2022 to December 31, 2023, the costs are listed there. Averaging at $81,741 a year, excluding HST. And I just wanted to also note that Waste Connections is currently completing the curbside collection and has done it for the past 4 years in the township. And we're quite happy with the service that's been provided to date. So the financial implications are that the environmental services budget will fund the curbside collection contract for household waste over the next 2 years at an annual average cost of $81,741, excluding HST. Therefore, our conclusion is that we recommend that this be awarded to Waste Connections of Canada for a 2-year term with the possibility of an extension for 1 year.
Okay, thank you, Peter. That's pretty well what the motion would read. Is there any questions on this or concerns? All right, so the motion is that we enter into this agreement and have staff prepare that for us for the next 2 years. All right, motioned by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any other questions concerning the motion? All right, seeing no hands, all in favor. I didn't see everyone's. Oh, I think Lori's, she's froze up over there. Welburn, are you froze too up there or not?
Yes, he is.
Yep. I think we'll have to wait a second because I only got to see 2 hands unless you take my hand into consideration too, Candace, as a quorum.
You do. You would
All
be
right.
the third quorum. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll carry on then. Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter, on that.
Welcome.
It's carried. R3 then would be Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official and Planning Coordinator. This is regarding a merger agreement consent B76-20-English. Okay, Ed, floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mayor. The purpose of this merger agreement that is brought to you today is to satisfy a condition of consent application B-76-20. So the application was submitted to the County of Peterborough Planning Department, Land Division. The application is to create an addition to an agricultural lot, and it's 38 feet of frontage and an area of almost 12,000 square feet. The reason for the lot addition is so that when the person backs out of their driveway, they have a turnaround spot that they don't cross the property line, because the boundary is, it's fairly close to the lot line where the person turns around. So this additional 38 feet gives them that room where they don't actually encroach towards that property line near as much. That was the reason for the application. So our council recommended it be approved in January of 2021. The Land Division, they approved it in February of 2021, and it was a condition. It's a rural residential lot with a little slice going to the rural property, so we rezoned that 38-foot slice to rural from the rural residential lot, and so that was in July of 2021. And there's been no appeal, so that is final and binding now. That's completed. December, we received the attached merger agreement, and the conclusion of this will be that the merger agreement will have the tiny slice of property merge with the large parcel, and they'll become one. And the last day, just as a note, to satisfy all the conditions of the consent approval is February 25th, 2022. So we've been after them to get this merger agreement into us so that council can approve it and it can go back and get signed, sealed, delivered, and then we'll give the county our sign off that everything has been done to the satisfaction of the township. And so that's the whole scoop.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions on this? We've seen this come across our table before. All right, no hands in the air. So then we're looking for a motion then to accept this for information, and further that council authorize myself, the mayor, and the clerk to execute the merger agreement between Ronald English and Kevin. A motion by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any other comments towards the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? That's carried then, thank you. Okay, the next, Ed, would be R4. So Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official Planning Coordinator. This is regarding the merger agreement consent B77-20. Please, Ed.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. This is exactly the same practically. There was a trade-off, so that last property, this 38-foot little slice, went to the neighbor's property, and in return he got a little tiny triangle of land at the rear of his property. So they just did like a little land swap to make things even. So this application for consent B77, it was submitted to the county land division. It's for the about 1,000 square feet of property. Council of Asphodel-Norwood, we recommended that they approve it in January. The county land division did approve it in February. The property was zoned rural, and it was joining a rural residential lot. So in July, we brought forward a zoning bylaw amendment application, and the application was approved to rezone it to rural residential, and there was no appeals filed, so the zoning bylaw amendment is final and binding on the property. And in December, we received this merger agreement, and now the conclusion is that the merger agreement will have the two parcels of land merged together on title and become one parcel, and the merger agreement's registered on title, of course. And so the last day to satisfy all the conditions of the land division approval was February 25th, 2022. So this is great timing to get this done.
Thank you, Ed. Any
welcome.
comments on this one? Seeing no hands, then we're looking for a motion then to accept this for information, and further that the authorize myself, the mayor, and the clerk to execute the merger agreement between Kevin English and Ronald English for this merger agreement. Councillor Walsh made the motion, seconded by Councillor Archer. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? And that's carried then. Thank you. All right, Ed, you're up again one more time. R5, this is regarding a site plan control agreement. Peterborough, Victoria, Northumberland, and Clarington Catholic District School Board. The floor is yours again, sir.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mayor. This has been a very long process. I just started to hear a bit of feedback. Hopefully I'm coming through clear.
Yep.
So council approved a site plan control bylaw. The latest version was passed in July of 2020. Made this application here, this development subject to site plan control. That's why we're bringing it forward. So the proposal is really good for our community. Like, it tidies up the entire corner of Oak Street and Highway 7. The Burger Hut property is all tied in with St. Paul's Public School and then the existing parking lot. So the parking is going to be so much more improved. They're putting in 2 bus lanes for pickup and drop off, and proper sidewalks and proper street lighting and signage. It's just going to be so much better for the students, a lot safer. They're redoing the front of the school on Oak Street. The drive-through there is going to be for more of a parent drop-off instead of out on Oak Street the way that it is. You know, it's a terrible condition out there on the corner. This is going to make that so much better all the way around. We've received all the application and the attachments. The latest came in to us in like everything December the 2nd. So we've got the application, or I mean the site plan control agreement for councils to see. The site plan control agreement, unfortunately, we went through site plan control in 2011 and 2012 with St. Paul's when they did the large addition. I attached the wrong application, instead of the 2021 version, you got the 2012 version of the application instead. So it's totally 100%. I've sent it to council, or I mean to Candace 2 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago during you guys were speaking about another topic. So we do have the right application, and all the application is that it's the same information for the ownership. Nothing has changed, and they're going to enter into the site plan control agreement with us to do all the attachments. All the schedules are all the same. So we've got the schedule. Let me see here. Schedule 1 is the architectural drawing. Schedule 2 is the civil plans. Schedule 3 is the electrical plans. Schedule 4 is the stormwater management. And Schedule 5 is the traffic operations study. So there's been a ton of work to go into this for the applicant, Salter Pylon Architecture, to get through MTO and to get through ORCA. ORCA has been helpful in this application, and haven't been putting up any roadblocks or anything. They've been very good to deal with. MTO, they're difficult to please, to say the least, and so it's taken months to get that through. But in the end game here, we have a great new corner of the township of the village of Norwood. It's just going to be fantastic. They're doing some drainage improvements at the rear of the property, so it's going to be better for the kids. They're going to relocate a portable to give better sight lines for the teachers in order to have better monitoring of the kids. So it's taken a little bit of work to get all this through, but in the end, everybody's going to be so happy with this new configuration of the parking. And I'll answer any questions if need be.
Hey, thanks, Ed. This goes to show you we're open for business, and I can imagine the stack of papers on your desk must be almost touching the ceiling by now with what's going on in our township. So anyway, job well done, and I understand some of the confusion on some of the folks that can be around. So, and also working with the MTO. I mean, at least with our staff in today's world, they're actually in open communication with us, and things do get done. It just takes time, like I said. Any questions from council on this? Deputy Mayor Burt, please, and you're muted. Yep.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yeah, it is great news, and it will certainly help alleviate a lot of the congested traffic there and pick up and drop off times. I just had a question, and I didn't see it in the report, but so with the lighting and the sidewalks, who's responsible for that? Is that the school board? Is it MTO? Is it a combination? I was just curious as to whose responsibility is that at the end of the day.
Through you, Mayor, I can answer this. So the lighting is just parking lighting that they're putting on their private property. That's solely their own. They have some internal sidewalks that will be all up to themselves to take care of in the parking area, but also on the outside of the in the road allowance portion in Highway 7 corridor there, we will have a brand new sidewalk that goes from the Ultramar property to the Oak Street corner, and that will become ours because that's in our road. It's in the Highway 7 road allowance, but it's our sidewalk network. So
okay.
It will be.
So it will be the cost covered will be through the township. Is that what you're saying? To do that portion of the sidewalk, or MTO?
The maintenance of the sidewalk will be the township. We have to, anytime there's any work done in the Highway 7 corridor, the municipality has to enter into like a mini maintenance agreement with them that we're going to take care of the sidewalk, and that in the future, if the MTO ever wanted to tear it up, they could actually tear it up because it's in their right-of-way type of thing. But they're not the ones that would snow plow it. Okay. It's just in our sidewalk network.
Okay, any other questions from council on this matter? All right, seeing no hands then. Then we'd look for a motion then, I guess, to authorize myself, the mayor, and the clerk to execute the site plan control agreement for the proposed development with Peterborough, Victoria, Northumberland, and Clarington Catholic School Board. Motion by Councillor Archer, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor. And then that's carried. Well done, Mr. Whitmore. Thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, then R6 then would be Candace White, our CAO clerk treasurer, and this report on R6 would be regarding our 2022 municipal insurance renewal. All good news, right, Candace?
Well, expected news. I can say that. I don't know if I'd say it was good. But yeah, we have chatted all the way through all of the budget talks for the last 4 months that we were going to be expecting approximately a 20% increase to our municipal insurance renewal. It did come in underneath that, so that was nice to see. I think they probably went a bit high to ensure that we were covered throughout our budgetary talks. Marsh Canada Limited, previously known as JLT, has insured the municipality for well over 15 years and beyond. The renewal is attached with all of the policies that it covers for council's review. I'm not going to read through all of the policy and coverage information as it was included in the package. And if anyone from the public wishes to see it, the agenda package is available on the website. The overall financial impact to the township is an increase of 16%, which is 33,385. Last year, we seen an 18% increase. So, you know, we're running at 34% over a 24-month period, which equates to about $60,000. So, you know, you're getting pretty close to 1% on the mill rate there as we're creeping. If this keeps up about another year and a half, that's exactly what it'll be. So that being said, it has been a pretty extensive conversation at the county CAO table as far as all municipalities are in the same boat. We're pretty much all running with the same expectation of renewal, anywhere from 15% all the way up to some municipalities pushing 30% in the county with their expected renewal. So there has been chatter as to whether we need to take a collective approach to insurance and have a large, similar to the employee benefits, that we take a look at a countywide pool. Unfortunately, there has been some conversation that maybe a few lower tiers need to go in together and leave the county out of it, just due to their sheer size and their asset base and the size of their claims. One of their claims doesn't even total the number of claims our township has had in 30 years. One claim. So, you know, their highways, higher speeds tends to have, you know, just the paramedics, what they share in services with the city. So I'm not really sure that maybe partnering with the county, and we've all had those conversations, is in our best interest, but the CAOs are going to continue to have that conversation throughout 2022 and see if we can come up with some sort of approach for the 2023 renewal. There's also some chatter, as we know, the number of willing participants to underwrite in municipal insurance policies is becoming fewer and fewer. There's a very, very small pot to pull from. As you can see, our property insurance is taking 2 different underwriters to insure our full portfolio. So we haven't seen that in the past. So there's 2 insurers. One is insuring us at 70% of the property portfolio. Another one is insuring at 30%. I have been reassured by Marsh that if there was a claim, that complement of insurers would not cause an issue from a claim perspective as far as navigating through that. I don't want to see the municipality in the middle of a finger pointing scenario. Fortunately, I've been reassured that that won't be the case, and the 70% lead insurer would take the lead, and that would be our contact through Marsh as our liaison. Our Cyberclaim policy continues to be held as a separate entity. So you notice there were some wording changes there, but there hasn't been any sort of change in coverage at all. We have had, increase in fleet, the increased cost of replacement costs of properties and assets are going up thanks to the pandemic. So that has also been taken into account for insurance companies, because obviously if there was a catastrophic event and we were to lose a facility, obviously to replace that facility in 2022 is going to cost substantially more. They're figuring about 30-40% than what it would have cost, say, in 2016 or 17 to replace that same asset. And just due to the pandemic and the sheer ability to get materials and contractors, et cetera. So of course, insurance companies are taking that into consideration as well, because they have to fund the full replacement cost of the asset. So all in all, we are seeing approximately, as I stated, $33,385 that has been built, that increase has been built into the final budget that's going to be presented to council shortly. And I'll leave it with council for any questions.
Okay, council, everyone making notes. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Candace, I was just wondering, has there been any talk around the CAO table about reaching out to the province as well, like having some kind of, maybe some help, or, the difficulties that, smaller municipalities are having ensuring that the townships are, that's a huge increase over 2 years.
It is. And the answer is yes, it's already been done.
Okay.
The province is hearing us all. They say loud and clear, but I haven't really seen it come across as a priority, as we've seen other priorities come across their table and are being addressed. So we are hopeful that in 2022, perhaps bending their ears just a little bit closer to the election may be a good strategy. And so we will continue to leverage that, and then hope post-election we'll see the results.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Any other questions on this report? Councillor Walsh, and you're muted, sir.
Yeah, just through you, Mayor. Candace, and speaking to your colleagues, and I get it in terms of, bundling this with the county could become, exposure or a big risk for whoever would take us on. Would we ever consider just kind of picking and choosing other municipalities that we may kind of want to partner with that, maybe similar size, similar levels of claim, that a provider may be interested to talk to us, versus some municipalities that, maybe have a larger claim history that they may not be as interested to want to partner with?
Yes, Mayor. Yes, that's exactly the conversation. So very similar to the IT servicing, those same municipalities were having those conversations as to, is there an opportunity for 2 or 3 of us to bundle together, especially if we border each other. The problem with that, if you border each other, is we have boundary roads. And if we are co-insured, what would that mean? We have no idea. Maybe it would mean nothing. But we are drafting a list of questions, such as that is a prime example, to have with insurers, because we're not all insured by the same across the board. Then we would bring those questions to a couple of the insurers and just chat to them and see if there's what is the risk? We need to know what the exposure is before we went out in a group purchasing effort. But we do think that perhaps there is definitely some efficiencies there, but we really need to hear back from the insurance companies to state whether we're completely off base and we're better off to stay, small and kind of on our own and control of our own destiny. But we do know of one municipality in the county, their council is really pushing to become self-insured. We are only aware of 2 municipalities in the province that do that. I'm not saying there isn't more, but we do know of 2. It seems to be across the table. That is not something that we have a large appetite for at the CAO table, as managing that portfolio and to become self-insured is exceptionally risky. But I guess the point of the conversation is because of, as you're seeing this exponentially increasing, that I guess all options are on the table being explored, and we always shake out a solution. So a solution will shake out that's in the best interest of everyone. We just need to have a few more conversations.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, council? All right, then I guess the motion then would be that, so this, for this report, 2022 municipal insurance renewal, that the motion would be to receive this information of Marsh Canada for them to look after us from December 31st, 2021 to December 2022, and to approve the township's deviation from our normal procurement policy and to accept Marsh Canada Limited's proposal. Motion by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? Carried. Okay, with help with the clerk on this one, then R7, then Candace, we would be going into a public meeting. Would we have time to do that now before we'd actually have to go into our public meeting for the zoning?
My suggestion would be, I've been thinking about it. I think if council is so willing, we could enter into a public meeting and we could do all of the water, Norwood Water, Sanitary, and Trentview Estates before 2 o'clock. And then I would suggest we would be done by R8 by 2 o'clock. We could come out of the public meeting to enter into the 2 o'clock zoning public meeting. And then we can do public meeting, committee of adjustment meeting, and then R7, the final municipal operating and capital budget at the very end.
Okay, you heard her. So then I'll ask for a motion then to suspend the council at 1:38 for us to go into the public meeting to discuss R8, would be the final 2022 Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer, and Trentview Estates water budgets. A motion to suspend and then go to public. Councillor Archer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? All right, that's carried. Candace, then R8, our CAO clerk treasurer. And this is for the public's knowledge, our final 2022 Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer, and Trentview Estates water budgets. Thank you for joining us, one and all. Candace, the floor is yours, please. Oh, I think, do I have to declare any pecuniary interest on any of this, clerk?
Pardon?
Did I have to declare any, anyone have to declare anything on this at all or to go into the public meeting?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, thank you.
Is it changing slides okay for you?
Yes, it's looking fine. Yep.
Doing well this time. Perfect.
Yes.
So thank you, Mayor. So welcome everyone to the final budget presentation for the Norwood Water and Norwood wastewater rates for the Norwood distribution system. We're going to start with the Norwood water system. It does consist of 4 wells, and we do have all 4 wells online with a well house treatment facility, a disinfection system, a chemical feed system for corrosion control, standby power, of course, which is good considering what the village has been dealing with, 1 standpipe and distribution piping that supplies water to the village. We currently have a total design capacity of 1,965 cubic meters a day. That is what our permit to take water allows us to remove from the aquifer. And our current daily demand sits at approximately 640 cubic meters per day. Users have been billed since 2013 when the water meters went in and billing commenced in 2014 on a billing model of 75% fixed and 25% variable. This model is continued for 2022. And there are currently approximately 1,000 water meters installed in the village with approximately 100 more meters than what we budgeted for in 2021. Unfunded capital, as council is aware, there was unfunded capital projects that were sitting on the financial statements from projects that were completed in previous years but were funded. Again, to explain that yes, the bills were paid, they just weren't funded on the financial statement, so it became an internal loan to itself. And so in 2016, I believe the council of the day adopted a recommendation by the municipal treasurer, which was myself, of course, and the auditors to adopt a 20-year financing plan of $50,002. And after this year, the remaining contribution that is required to completely fund those projects is $650,036.39, down from approximately $1 million. The unfunded capital projects were as follows. So we have Ridge Street in 2007, Highway 7 water main in 2008, all the way up to water meters and upgrades in 2012. You can see that the Ridge Street water work and the King Street water work, you can see it says funded beside those because the $50,000 contribution per year has funded those projects. As we fund them, they'll be listed as funded on the project list here. 2022 budget for Norwood Water, you can see that there is a net impact of 0 to the tax base as Norwood Water users are self-funded. You can see that we need a $34,000 approximate increase in revenue, a $12,000 increase in operating expenditures, and then of course the difference, that increase in revenue, the difference is to fund approximately $22,000 in capital. Areas of significant impact, the aquifer capacity study, which is ongoing as we speak. Well 4 and well 1 have both been pumped. Pumping tests do continue tonight for well 3. It is going well. Replacement of water main on Ridge Street from Pine Street to the end. Replacement of water main behind the businesses that front County Road 45 and Victoria Street. Replace the services on Margaret Street. Of course, our unfunded capital portion of $50,000, and of course, a positive significant impact is the increase in users. Overall capital expenditures for the Norwood water system for 2022 is budgeted at $274,000 approximately. You can see that we'll continue with the aquifer capacity study, the water main replacement projects, the design of the water tower. We're going to pull from some efficiency funding. We're going to transfer some money out for reserves. We're going to transfer some money to reserves for the hookup fees. And of course, the ICIP funding for the green stream for the water tower, and the municipal portion is obviously the difference between the $100,000 and the $74,000 for a grand total of $274,002.81. All of that revenue and expense and capital equates down to the following rate structure. 2022 will be 70 cents per cubic meter with a monthly fixed rate of $27.02. This does boil down to a slight reduction to the users of 1 cent per cubic meter and 47-cent reduction on a monthly basis. Of course, residents will see that 47 cents double because we are on a bi-monthly billing schedule. Reserves, projected reserve balance at the end of 2022 is $415,000 and change due to a transfer of approximately $184,000. The average monthly difference for Norwood water, average consumption for the majority of users is about 10 to 20 cubic meters a month. Whether you're senior right up to commercial, council can see that the average monthly change will be approximately $1.93 reduction all the way down to approximately 50 cents. So again, that'll be doubled because this chart is showing it in a monthly reduction, but it will be bi-monthly, so that will double. Any questions from council?
Council, any questions?
No.
All right, just for information though, if anyone's watching this from home through via YouTube or whatever, it's not that council hasn't seen this before. It's we've seen this a couple of times and had lots of questions in the past about this budget, and we're just bringing it forward now for the public so they can view it all once again if they haven't seen it in the past. So, okay, clerk, where would you like to go from here?
Okay, I'm just going to continue on with the Norwood wastewater, Mayor. Just bear with me a moment.
Thank you.
All good.
Okay. So Norwood wastewater system is comprised of approximately 945 users. Again, it is the same billing model as Norwood Water, with 25% being billed out at the variable rate, 75% at the fixed rate. That will continue for the 2022 budget year. We are required to collect an additional $12,109.30. That is because of a reduction in expenditures of $3,200 approximately, but an increase in capital costs of approximately $15,000. So it nets out to an increase to the revenue line of approximately $12,000. Again, the 2022 budget has a net zero impact on the tax base because it's self-funded by the users of the system. Areas of significant impact includes the replacement of the sanitary main from County Road 40 to Marion Lane, which is expected to be completed in 2021. Completion of offsite sanitary main project funded through development. Of course, increase in users, and we have some capital equipment that needs to be addressed. Electric chain hoist needs to be replaced, an alum panel, some new affluent pumps. We are seeing an increase in administration hours, obviously with the number of users increasing. It takes more time for billing and collections, etc. So that role is currently split with the municipal office. So you'll just see more hours being allocated off of the tax base into the Norwood water and wastewater departments. And of course, there is a debenture for the wastewater treatment plant. Total capital cost for Norwood wastewater is just shy of $193,000. Again, the majority is the borrowing and loan replacement costs, capital equipment, capital projects, and there will be a transfer from the development charge reserve of approximately $200,000. Norwood wastewater, the debenture matures June 15th, 2045, with the balance being just shy of $1.3 million. Biannual payments are $28,571.43 plus interest. We aren't seeing any direct impact to the wastewater reserves themselves. Again, the transfer that you just seen was development charges. So the projected balance is $425,000. So the rate structure is going to see a 6-cent reduction in variable rate, as well as a 12-cent reduction in the monthly fixed rate. So that equates down to $6 reduction monthly, all the way down to 42 cents monthly. If you're on both systems, you are going to see an average impact on monthly billing of about $8 per month, which equates to about $16 bi-monthly. And again, the senior rate is going to be 96 cents per month reduction if you're on both systems. So if that is doubled, it's going to be approximately a reduction of $2 per month.
Yeah, that's great news. Thanks, Candace. Any questions from council? All right. Oh, a couple of questions this time. Deputy Mayor Burke, please.
Not so much a question on the report. As you stated earlier, we've seen this a few times, so it's nice to see it all wrapped up final. I was just going to ask staff if there have been any inquiries or questions or comments from the public to the office on either one of those water or wastewater budgets.
No, so the public meetings was advertised out to the public website, newspaper, and we did that as soon as council gave us their blessing at the November 23rd meeting of council when we presented it in draft form. We haven't had any public inquiries. We had no one registered to attend today's meeting.
Okay, I guess it's a good news budget, so when they get a little bit of money in their pocket, they won't complain, so that's good news.
It is good news.
Great. Thank you. And Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Candace, I was just wondering, it is a good news story, but I was just wondering, out of you said about the extra administrative costs for billing. I was just wondering how many of the users are online, like pay the bills online, and if that does impact how much staff time.
No, it's the exact same. So whether it's online, because when they pay online to their bank, so they go online, they pay, we receive actually a fax. Yes, it's still old school. So we receive a fax on the fax machine from each of the banks. And on it, it would so maybe 2 or 3 sheets of paper, it would be someone that paid their dog tag, someone that paid their taxes, someone that paid their water, sewer. They are supposed to split them out, because when you go online to your online banking, it gives you that option, water, sand, utility, general, receivable, or taxes. Traditionally, we would hope that it's put into the right pot, but that isn't always traditionally the case. So then those papers have to go and you have to key it into the Keystone, which is our software, to, I guess, account for the payment. So it comes off their account that's manually entered. So if someone was to bring in cash and pay it through the front, although that's one more staff member that receives the cash, well, then they get that piece of paper from the front end, and it gets keyed that way. So it gets keyed by either the front end, or it gets keyed by the accounts receivable, accounts payable clerk off the fax machine. It's less money, so there tends to be less, chances for less discrepancies. It's less time at the audit time, because the less cash we handle, the better, of course. So it's more efficient that way. But on a day-to-day, we still have to key it, if that makes sense. We still have to do the data entry.
That was an interesting answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. But the banks, talk to your bank.
Any other questions from council? All right, seeing no hands, so I'll ask the clerk then, would we take a motion then to accept this Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer at this time? And then
I'll just, if you don't mind, Mayor, I will go in and quickly present Trentview Estates before 2 o'clock, and then handle the motion, if that's okay with council.
Yes, please. Yep, thank you.
Bear with me.
It's nice to see that our meeting's working well today, except for a couple freeze-ups, but it's going good. Today's technology and the Wi-Fi and whatever. Oh, don't tell me I jinxed it.
Oh,
Here we go.
here
Yep,
we are.
we see the Trentview Estates. There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. So again, this is the final budget meeting presentation to set the water rates for the Trentview Estates water system. Trentview Estates consists of approximately 86 properties, which is 74 homes and 12 vacant lots. We have seen some growth out there in recent years, which is nice, and we will be seeing more growth if today's planning applications go well at 2 o'clock. We do have the capacity of 1,658 cubic meters a day. We use approximately 28. So as you can tell, there's no concern there. 2 major leaks were found and repaired on the private side, which has slowed up the discrepancy to, actual to billing consumption, which is nice. Trentview Estates is very, very minimal impact. You're seeing approximately $400 difference between 2021 and 2022. So very, very, very slight difference. And again, this is a fully funded system. The users fund it themselves with no impact on any tax base. It has a reserve of approximately $65,000 that is expected to remain if no surprises or emergencies occur that are unforeseen in 2022. And it does not include any transfers of any surplus of 2021 as well. The rates are sitting at 2 cents more for Trent Hills. Pipe charge leaving the same monthly fixed rate, which is the Township of Asphodel-Norwood's rate, going down approximately 97 cents. That said, I did receive the final rate structure for Trent Hills this morning. Theirs are finally approved. There is a slight difference in these numbers, but nothing worth going back at it and resetting all of the rates and putting them out to the public when they've already been out. We tend to run a bit of a surplus in this department, so the couple $100 I think it's going to be out for the year. We just decided to leave it as is instead of restructuring everything. Average monthly impact pretty minimal, all the way down from about 27 cents of savings again monthly, all the way up to 91 cents. So another good news story. And I'll take any questions.
Phil, any questions on this report? We've seen this one before also, previous meetings. All right, seeing no hands, then I guess we'd be looking then to approve this budget as presented today. for the final 2022 Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer, and Trent View Estates water budgets. We take them all in one motion as presented. Motioned by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor then? Okay, that's great. And thank you once again, Candace and staff, for making that so easy for us to read and follow, and for the public, if they were so interested, to follow it also. So now I'll look for a motion then that we come out of this public meeting then at basically 1:57 to rejoin our regular council meeting of December the 14th at this time. Councillor Archer, seconded by Councillor War. All in favor? And then that's carried. So we're almost 2 o'clock. We'll be doing a public meeting. I believe, Councillor Archer, that you said that you had to leave anytime soon.
Through you, Mayor, I'm going to leave before you go into the public meeting, so, and hope to rejoin you here in a little bit.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Yep, we'll talk to you later then, sir. So we'll make
Thank
note
you.
of that, 1:57. All right, so we're just 2 minutes short of the 2 o'clock public meeting. Shall we just make the motion to go into the public meeting now? I'll refer to the clerk on that.
The individual that registered for today's public meeting is in attendance. So I do believe that we would probably be okay to enter into the public meeting and commence it, considering the decision will not be made till well after 2 o'clock. So anyone will have the opportunity to join us. So discussing the introduction and getting things started, I don't think is going to cause that big of an issue, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So then at this time, then I'll ask for a motion then to suspend our regular council meeting of December the 14th at 1:58 p.m. So that we may enter into a public meeting for 2 p.m. on today's date to consider an application to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2009-08 under section 34, section 12 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended. So we'll take that motion then so that we may enter into our public meeting and suspend regular council. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Great. Okay, thank you. So welcome everyone to our recorded version of this public meeting. We have an agenda before us. Welcome to our staff and welcome to those of you who may be viewing us via YouTube or recorded version thereof. At this time, I'll ask council then if there's any declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing no hands, thank you. So then we'll move right on with the reports of R1. Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official Planning Coordinator. You'll go through all the in-person meeting stuff, Ed, and the overview. Zoning bylaw amendment Zubla 08-2021. Ed, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mayor. So we would just start out with the written declaration here of if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And second, if a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. So having read that, we'll get right into the background. So the zoning bylaw amendment application 08-2021 is applicable to a vacant property on the 7th line, and the municipal roll number is 1501-010-004-09-197, and it's concession 7, part lot 3, the Township of Asphodel-Norwood. It's near River Road in the 7th line. The application for consent B51-20, we call it Lot 1, and application for consent B52-20, call that Lot 2, has been submitted to the County Planning Department, to the Land Division. The purpose of the consent was to create 2 new residential lots having frontage of 15.24 meters, that's about 50 feet, and an area of about 0.14 hectares, and that's about 0.36 of an acre. And the retained lands is larger. It would be approximately 22 meters or 72 feet of frontage, and the lot area of 0.34 hectares, and that's 0.86 acres. Good sized built up area lots. So the Council of Asphodel-Norwood, they recommended approval of these consents back in October 2020, and then the Land Division approved the consent applications this August of 2021, and it took that amount of time in order to satisfy ORCA through going. There was drainage issues and concerns from the neighboring rural properties, and the subject site needed to have some drainage engineering done in order to satisfy ORCA. Everything has been done. ORCA is on side now, and they've recommended they've advised that they don't have any concerns. And so I'm very confident that going through the process with ORCA, they do a good job in making sure that there are no drainage issues or concerns, for later on. It sure does help to stop those complaints coming in at a later date. Because, you wouldn't want somebody having a lot created beside you and then you having drainage issues, right? So nobody would want that. So the purpose of the application is to rezone the 2 lots from rural residential to residential 1 exception 8 holding zone, and to rezone the retained portion from rural residential to rural residential exception 9 holding zone. And the holding provision requires the landowner to extend the municipal servicing at their expense to the satisfaction of the township, or enter into an agreement with the township prior to building permits being issued. And so the only difference between the exception 8 and the exception 9 is the amount of frontage. So the exception 8 2 lots have 50 feet of frontage, and the exception 9 has the 72 feet of frontage. But all 3 lots will have to enter into an agreement with the township, or provide that servicing for the water down in Trentview Estates, to provide the laterals to the lot lines. Then we're able to issue building permits. The applicant will be responsible for all costs involved, like the landowners of those lots. The engagement, so we circulated all the agencies. We circulated the properties within 120 meters. We posted the notice on our township website. We posted the notice on the actual property itself. We received comments from the ORCA. They don't have any concerns or objections. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board, they've advised that they don't have any concerns as well. So at the time of writing of the report, December the 7th, we didn't have any other comments. But since then, one lady on Park Lane called in and discussed with me what the differences are between the rural residential zone and the residential 1 zone. And so the main differences are that rural residential lots are larger and they have enhanced setbacks compared to residential 1 is lesser in size, and they have reduced setbacks. At the end of the conversation, she didn't have any concerns. So the conclusion, what it will be when this zoning bylaw amendment, if passed by council today, it's subject to a 20-day appeal period. And if no appeals are received by January the 3rd, the zoning bylaw amendment will be final and binding. And then we will be able to advise the county land division that the rezoning of the subject property has been rezoned to the satisfaction of the municipality. And then they'll satisfy the other conditions that has nothing to do with the township and then get their severances approved. So if there's any questions on any of the attachments or anything, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Ed. So at this time, then I'll ask council if there's any questions concerning this. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just had one question to Ed, if possible. Ed, what would be the distance for these lots to be serviced by the water system for Trent View Estates? Is there, do you know the distance that they would have to run that main?
Through you, Mayor, I'm not sure. I didn't do a GIS measurement, but I would imagine like it comes down to River Road to Park Hill, or I mean to Park Lane. And that's where the water main is now. And so Kyle, our water and wastewater manager, he probably knows the different dimensions and what the criteria will be. You know, the size of pipes and all the rest of it. But I would assume that it's probably, it could be, and I'm guessing like it might be 120 meters or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know that we don't have to bear that expense. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, seeing no hands then. So the meeting of record, then I would be asking then if there's anyone in attendance, if they would like to speak in support of this.
Yes, Mayor, we have a Miss Gibson with us.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Katie, you're on.
Thank you. I do own that property. I've owned it since I think 2005 maybe. I'm hoping this is going to be severed for me. I think it would be advantageous to the township to obtain more taxes for 3 homes as opposed to just my one lot with no home on it. And it would provide 3 additional houses for available because of the shortage of accommodation for people nowadays is getting harder and harder. So, and plus, I guess it would complete the original subdivision from 1995, the Trent View subdivision. Not that that has anything to do with it, but it would complete that subdivision. Other than that, I've done all the studies that have been asked. Just hoping it could be passed today.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Is there anyone else, Candace, that would speak in favor of this support? All right, then I'll ask 3 times, and there's still no one else, so that's okay. And then I'll ask then if there's anyone that's online basically in opposition of this.
No one's in attendance, Mayor.
All right, and I'll ask a 2nd and 3rd time, and there's no one available in opposition, so that's good. So here we are. We've got all the details from our CVO. So then I would ask that the recommendation of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood accept this report regarding this Zuba 08 2021 Gibson, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood direct staff to prepare a bylaw that will rezone the severed lands from rural residential zone to residential 1 exception 8 zone and residential 1 exception 9 holding zone. That's a mouthful, but that's the motion. Motioned by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? That's carried. So Ed, this has been passed now, and now I guess like you mentioned before, there's a 20-day wait period after the fact.
Yes, correct.
Okay, well, Katie Gibson, have a great day then. Thank you. All right. Then at this,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, councillors.
you're more than welcome. All right. At this time then, I would ask that we have an adjournment, that the public meeting held on December 14th, 2021 be adjourned at 2:11 p.m. and that the regular meeting of council be resumed. Motioned by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor War. All in favor? And that's carried. So now we're back into regular council. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask us then to suspend our regular council meeting of December 14th at 2:12 p.m. so that we may enter into a public meeting of the Committee of Adjustment, which we rarely see, but it does come about once in a while. And so like I said, that we need this motion then that we go into this for a minor variance application. Council, motion by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so now we're into the public meeting for our minor variance application A-01-2021, and forgive me, but it's Petrunsic. R1 is the report, Ed, please, and you're muted.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'll just read the two statements. If a person does not make oral submission at the public hearing or make written submissions to the committee before the decision is final and binding, the person is not entitled to appeal the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And second, if a person does not make oral submissions at the public hearing or make written submissions to the committee before the decision is final and binding, the person may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there is reasonable grounds to do so. So if nobody makes an oral or written submission prior to the appeal date, the decision is final and binding. So everybody is clear. Okay, so as far as background and the discussion goes, the subject lands are located within the built-up area of Asphodel Heights, and the property is known as 225 North Indian Road. And the purpose and effect of this minor variance application, if approved, it'll allow for the construction of a single-story addition to the dwelling. So there's no major construction going on. All there is just an addition being built onto a single detached dwelling. An application was submitted to the Committee of Adjustment for the reduction of the required minimum side yard. And the requirement today is 3 meters. And Section 8.2.1 bracket G in our zoning bylaw requires that. And they would like to reduce this down to 1.35 meters. The whole reason that the addition or the Committee of Adjustment reduction in the side yard is required is because instead of the house being built square to the lot lines like that, it's built on an angle. And so when you put the addition on, then it encroaches towards the side lot line. That's the whole reason. If the building had been built square to the lot lines, then it would have been fine. But since the building is angled, then that's the whole reason that they can't make the 3 meter setback. Township staff have reviewed the 4 tests that are required in approving a minor variance application, and those are: the application has to be minor in nature. And so the size of the addition, it's 1 story. Staff feel that it's minor in nature. It has to be desirable and appropriate development for the use of the land and the building structure in the area. Again, it's a residential addition going on a residential lot in a residential neighborhood. It's not oversized or unsightly or anything, so it's totally in staff's mind is appropriate development for the use of the land. So it has to, 3 is maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. So in the rural residential zone and in the general provisions of the zoning bylaw, it meets every single line except for the one line of being a side yard setback. So out of all the criteria, and there's pages of the criteria that you have to comply with, the only thing that it's not complying with is the side yard setback, and it's only being reduced to 1.35 meters, where in the village of Norwood, it's 1.2 meters is your common setback. So it's even greater than the village of Norwood's side yard setback. So, and Asphodel Heights is in a built-up area. In order to meet the intent and purpose of that zoning bylaw, since it complies with all the other rules of the zoning bylaw, to me it's 100% as well with the purpose of the zoning bylaw. And 4th is the general intent and purpose of the official plan. So it's in a residential area. It's for a residential addition. There's no official plan concerns whatsoever. So in staff's opinion, the general intent and purpose of the official plan have been complied with as well. We circulated all the agencies. Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board reviewed the application, and they said they have no concerns or issues with this minor variance application. We had a call from a person up in the general area, and he was one of the ones that were circulated. He had, at the end of the conversation, he had no concerns. He was a little bit confused, thinking that we thought he was the one applying for the minor variance, and he wasn't applying for the minor variance. He was just being circulated with the minor variance. So at the end of it, he totally had no concerns. And that was all we had received at the time of writing of the report. But since then, last week, I had a phone call from a lady that inquired why she received the written notice. And so I explained to her the Planning Act requirements of being 60 meters from the property, that's a requirement, and we go above and beyond that, and we do 120 meters for the circulation, and that's why she got written notice of the application. She had no concerns at the end of the conversation. So engagement, we've circulated the people, we provided the combined notice of application and public hearing. It was posted on the actual property at 225 North Indian Road. We had the application posted on the Township of Asphodel-Norwood website as well. So the conclusion is that the minor variance will reduce the side yard setback to 1.35 meters from the 3 meters, and the building owner, the property owner, in the spring or early summer of 2022 would like to build their addition to the dwelling if this is approved and there's no appeals, and the decision becomes final and binding if approved. And that's it for this.
Okay, thank you, Ed, for that. At the beginning, I guess I missed over the declaration of any pecuniary interest. It's probably a little late now, but I should ask it as a meeting of
Sure.
public here. So is there anyone of council that has any pecuniary interest on this subject? All right, thank you. Seeing no hands, thank goodness. We'll carry on then. Then would there, I just have to ask for clarification, would there be a meeting record on this that I would ask persons in attendance or not on this one, Ed?
Yes, you should.
Yeah, all right. So I'll just ask the clerk then if there's anyone that's in support of online, if they'd like to speak now. And she's gone. Not 100% sure what's going on. Maybe her video's out or something. No stress or pressure at all. So, Melanie, are you aware of anybody that's might be online or not? there you go, Candace, you're back again. So for the meeting record, Candace, is there anyone online that would be?
There's nobody here.
Okay, so I would ask the 3 times then. And is there anyone in opposition? And I would ask that the 3 times. And if there's no one online, then that's great. All right, so then the recommendation then, council, before us is that the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report regarding the minor variance application A-01-2020 for information, and that the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood approve the minor variance application as submitted. Anyone make that motion? Deputy Mayor Burt. Seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? And that's carried then. Thank you.
Mayor.
Now, oh, yes, go ahead, please.
Mayor, so there is a decision record sheet that needs to be signed by each member of the committee. So it's just a signature that they're voting. It's a decision sheet essentially. So we're going to put a copy of it in each of your mailboxes at the town office. If you could just each sign recording your vote for today's decision, and then we'll compile them all together. Traditionally, we have a sheet we hand it around the table when we're all in person and have everyone sign. It's unique to a Committee of Adjustment meeting, but we'll get that in your mailboxes for you, and please sign at your leisure.
Great, thank you for that. So now I would be looking then for a motion then that for this public meeting for December 14th, the public meeting on the minor variance application be adjourned at 2:23 p.m. and that we go back to our regular meeting of council. By Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And then that's carried. Thank you. So now that we're back into our regular council meeting, now I will have to ask again for another motion to go back into our public meeting. That would be to suspend our regular council meeting to enter into this public meeting to talk about our final 2022 municipal operating and capital budget. Candace, you have a comment? You're muted. I was just wondering, Candace, you had a question while I was doing this. I've seen your hand.
No, Ed just waved goodbye to all of us, so Barry and I waved bye to Ed.
All right, good.
Sorry, I don't know what.
I was too busy reading. Bye, Ed.
Yeah, carry on.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so I needed a motion then to suspend our regular council meeting to enter into this public meeting in regards to our final 2022 municipal operating and capital budget. So in the time would be 2:24 p.m. Motioned by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor War. All in favor? And then that's carried. Okay, Candace, our CAO, Clerk Treasurer, R7. We're in a public meeting now. I want to welcome everyone again via YouTube or our recorded version, and we're going to be discussing our municipal operating and capital budget. And Candace, the screen is on and the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So today is the final adoption for the 2022 operating and capital budget. The public meeting was advertised for those members of the public who wish to speak or register for either a verbal presentation or a written presentation, and to date none was received. As council knows, we did have some public engagement throughout the year, throughout multiple surveys, whether that was budget survey, strat plan, different recreational surveys. So I think we have a pretty good thumb on the pulse of what it is that our residents are wishing to see. So with that in mind, this I think is the first year since I've been a municipal treasurer where we've seen the final budget presentation coming forward in the year preceding the year of business. So we'll be able to jump right in with both feet as township staff the very beginning of January. So we get a full 12 months of operations, which is nice. And again, council supported that through approving the following budget process, with draft 2022 budgets by department being presented from September right through up till the full draft being submitted to council November 23rd, with then granting direction to municipal staff to advertise a public meeting for today's final presentation. Budget pressures. This is not unique to us, nor new to municipal budgets and finance. Budget pressures do exist every year, but this year we're seeing something a little bit different, and that is no phase-in assessment. Due to the pandemic, the provincial government has put a stay on all phase-in assessment growth for 2020 and 2021. We are going to see the Alma Street pedestrian bridge replacement. Again, that is the pedestrian side, not the vehicular side. The 2022 proposed budget fully funds all the short-term capital plans. As council knows, we are famous for our 5-year plan, so that this budget supports all of those, meaning sidewalk plan, parks plan, surface treatment plan, asphalt plan, guardrail plan, et cetera, et cetera. It does address a somewhat aggressive reserve allocation plan. It does continue in 2022 for the replacement of equipment, as the cost of equipment and the timeliness of getting equipment is not becoming more kind as we move through the pandemic and the effects of it. We are seeing a reduction in the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, and we're also seeing some continued impact from the pandemic. This is what everyone likes to see. Of course, it's great to see all those budgets, but I'd like to start off by stating what is the actual impact to the residents of Asphodel-Norwood for the 2022 municipal operating capital budget. And it is a proposed tax rate of just shy of 1%, 0.91. And that equates to approximately $1.12 per month for the average residential homeowner, with an average assessment of $211,944. And that is the average assessment of a residential home in our township. So the difference on an annual basis is $13.43. So I don't even know if you can buy a cup of coffee for $1.12, because I'm not a coffee drinker really. So I'm not really sure, but I think that's about approximately what it equates to. But again, you'll hear me mention this multiple times throughout the presentation. This does not include potential increases to the county rate. I will leave that to the mayor and deputy mayor to speak to. Education rate or any impact assessment changes, and that is outside of the phase-in assessment changes. They're called in-year changes, and we are seeing in-year changes from MPOC, which are driven by building permits. Where do your tax dollars go? Well, 58% stay in the township of your tax bill that you pay on an annual basis. 29% is uploaded to Peterborough County to run their services, and 13% goes to the education stream. The municipality does take that 13%, is allocated out to 4 different school boards. Weighted assessment, you can see the change in assessment that is affecting the tax roll, which of course directly feeds the budget. You can see we've had just shy of a 3% increase in residential assessment. Again, it's weighted, and again, it represents in-year changes. So again, building permit growth. Commercial, we're seeing an increase. New commercial, you'll see a big increase there. That shouldn't be any surprise if we have seen some commercial structures going up in the township. And again, they will bump out of that new commercial category. Industrial, new industrial, again, is very similar to industrial. We see it come in the new side, but again, it'll bump up into the industrial side. It'll have a net impact of 0. It'll come out of new industrial and then bump up the industrial assessment. Farmland, see an assessment growth of 2.49% for a total net impact of weighted assessment of about 3.5%. Again, I'll quickly go through each department. You can see council, the council department does include the contribution to the municipal library board. So this isn't all just council related expenses. Again, it's a 2022 does hold a municipal election. So you are going to see a $25,000 expenditure for that. 18 of it will be pulled from the election reserve because we do put an annual allocation into that reserve. We're seeing a 5% increase to the library contribution. Again, that 20% increase in insurance, we will see some slight relief in each one of these GLs across the entire presentation. And then of course, the phase in of council remuneration. The recommendation for the council remuneration study will be coming forward to the meeting in January, which will set the tone for 2023 and onward. Administration, again, insurance and payroll costs continue to play a burden outside of our control. The CPP did increase. I think that fund hasn't seen any adjustment in many, many years, so that can be expected and difficult to consider a burden, in my opinion. Asset management, OREG 588 continues to live and breathe, so we need to gain compliance with that. Again, it's been bumped out to July 1st, so we're working with Watson and Associates on gaining compliance there. The IT review project for municipal modernization funding, the HR Live consulting, which is that monthly service that we discussed during the draft presentation, and sharing of dedicated IT personnel with Durrow Dummer and Havelock Belmont Methuen. Facilities, we're seeing a reduction. As I stated, we are seeing a slight shift in priorities. Facilities seeing a fair bit of our attention in 2021. So you are seeing a capital shift, which is the case from pretty much year to year. We can't focus on everything at once, but we are still going to see the landscaping at the town hall finished up, as well as the front door at the Norwood Library. Hopefully with the pandemic, we will see that come into stock in the new year and hopefully Q1. Fire department seeing an approximately $35,000 increase to this tax base, $80,000 allocation to reserves for future replacement of pumper 2, 10% increase in dispatch contract costs. We have seen that for the last few years. It is pursuant to the new contract with the city of Peterborough. You know, the traditional capital replacements that we see as our equipment becomes more antiquated, thermal cameras, some airbags and coveralls for the department take up the remaining capital costs for the fire department. Police and Conservation Authority is seeing a slight reduction of approximately $22,000. This is a reduction in policing costs proposed for 2022 from the OPP, reduction in the Conservation Authority levy due to the floodplain mapping project being completed. Hopefully we'll receive that mapping in 2022. It has been a bit of a wait for that. We did fund that for approximately 3 years. So come 2022, it's the first year that we no longer have to fund that project as it's been completed. Bylaw and animal control, no significant budgetary impacts, $2,000 net change to that department for the 2022 year. Building, again, this is our good news story. It is fully self-funded, so all revenues coming into the department fund all the expenses going out of the department, and any surplus is allocated to the reserve for that department, which is also in quite a healthy position. Transportation department, again, where the majority of the capital resources for the department are allocated. Again, we've already discussed the replacement of the Alma Street pedestrian bridge. The surface treatment program, you're going to see the third line be finished up. All the little items, little details that need to be finished up before we see the surface going on that line from Highway 7 to Center. You're going to close some gaps on Center Line west of County Road 38 and on the 4th line between Sand Road and Center Line. Of course, we're going to take care of some sidewalks, guardrails. We're going to replace a 2008 pickup truck as it's running on its 14th year and on its last legs. Transfer to reserves for replacement of equipment. So we've got the backhoe, the grader obviously is a big one. We've got the whole back and erosion mitigation for Centerline Road and Ridge Street as the water main, as you've seen in the Norwood water budget presentation, that water main needs to be replaced. Well, of course, the road needs to come up in order to do that. So we'll be replacing the road and installing curbs in that section as well, which hits this budget. Environmental services, we're going to see a reduction of approximately $33,000. A lot of that, well, actually pretty much all of it, is to do with the fact that we're not replacing a bridge in 2022 like we did in 2021. So you're seeing a relief in the capital expenditures there. Recreation, slight increase, and the majority of that is due to the allocation to reserve. So we've been putting in for the replacement of the ice plant, and you're seeing it come to fruition here. In 2023, we have to replace the chiller, and in 2024, we have to replace the condenser. So those two big expenditures, and then pretty much the ice plant as a whole will have been, for the most part, the large components will have been replaced. Expansion to the community center for the fitness center, the ICIP funding, that tender closed to hire a contractor for the design build, and no bids were received. So the consultant and I have been chatting about a new approach coming forward in January. And bottom line is contractors are getting a little shy to enter into contracts that they can't necessarily procure the materials for the costs in which the budgets were set for back when we applied for funding. So bottom line is to give council the heads up, we'll be coming back in January looking for more money in order to re-tender the job to be able to get a contractor to take it on. We're not talking a lot of money. Obviously, the project will still be majority funded through the province and the feds through the ICIP funding, but we'll need more of a municipal contribution in order to see that project go. Or we will have to apply to the province and the federal governments for an extension to get us outside of the impacts of COVID. We can discuss that a little bit further during my CAO list, so I'll leave that with you. Dehumidifier replacement is going to be replaced with the efficiency funding, as well as a 20% increase, as we've stated, liability insurance. Parks, $8,200 increase. Again, a lot of this is just funding the 5-year parks plan. We're well known for our parks, and we want to continue to be. So we're going to see that very, very well used playground structure at Asphodel Park replaced. Some cenotaphs are going to see some new flagpoles, garbage receptacles, some trees, community center playground expansion, some new picnic tables for accessibility. And then, of course, the Birdsall Wharf, we're replacing a section there in a joint venture with Autonomy South Monaghan. Planning and economic development, this is where you're going to see probably one of the largest increases across the board. A lot of that is due to legal expenses dealing with a local planning appeal tribunal case with the developer known as VGS. Update to development charges bylaw to capture provincial regulation changes. So we need to take a look at our DC bylaw and do some updates there. Entrance sign and installation, some of them are have been received. The smaller ones, the large ones hopefully will be in-house by the end of the year, if not the beginning of next year, for spring installation. We chatted about this work plan for special projects committee, and then transfer of community program coordinator. So we're shifting some of those hours over to economic development, and of course our traditional support for local events and shop local initiatives that we hold throughout the year. You could see the department comparison and where your budget, you've heard me say this multiple times, roads, and if you take roads, policing and fire, they're 60% of your budget. If you just want to do roads and policing, you know, there's 50%. So there's not a whole lot left over, but it is that remaining 50% is divvied up by how you see there. Traditionally, I do this in a pie chart, but I thought the chart was a little bit easier to read. Capital versus operating, again, you don't really see much movement from this year to year. Again, you'd have to see a pretty significant shift in levels of service in order to see a significant impact here, but 87% of the budget is traditionally fixed for the most part, with 13% available for capital improvements and infrastructure. Reserves, this is no surprise to council. I have been saying for a long time, we've been saving in order to put some money back into the community and back into the ground, because that's what reserves are for. It is taxpayer dollars that should be enjoyed by the taxpayer. So you are going to see a reduction in those reserves down to approximately $4 million, which is very, very healthy considering when I started, we were well less than $500,000. So we've come a long, long way. So we're still in a very, very healthy position. And in my estimation, more healthy, because there is such a thing as having too much than too little. And I will take any questions or thoughts or considerations from council.
Okay, thank you for that good news story, other than the over at the Millennium Room and Community Center there. So, all right, Council, any questions at this time? We've seen this budget presentation a couple times now, and we're quite thrilled each time we see it, I know, but is there any questions that this has sparked up this time? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Yep, this is several times we've seen it, and again, it's nice coming back to us all together for final report. This is just, it's not really a question on your report, but when you send the money out to the county and the school boards, are those sent out quarterly after taxes have been paid through the residents, and then they're sent out, or are they biannual? I was just curious about that. That's question number one. And then if I could have one more, Mayor, that'd be good.
Quarterly.
Quarterly? Okay, I wasn't sure about that. And then let's see, the surplus allocation, do you have any sense or anticipation of a surplus allocation from 2021? Even though I realize numbers aren't in yet, so.
No, I know there's going to be one.
Okay.
So I will say
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And the interim, I traditionally know more after the interim audit. So when we adopt in January, the interim audit has already taken place. So I already have more of an idea. So I tend to speak a little bit more freely, but the interim audit was supposed to take place tomorrow and Thursday, but has been canceled and moved to January. So I do not know. There is going to be a surplus allocation for sure. It's nothing outside of what I think we've seen before. There's no story there. It's not really low comparison to other years. It's not going to be really high comparison to other years. It's going to be running pretty much what we traditionally see, I think, for the most part. So there's no surprise there, but I can't really give a number today.
Okay, thank you. And I do have a comment if I can, or will, okay. So you had mentioned about the county rate. We, as county council, and Roger knows this, we will be getting that report between Christmas and New Year's. It is coming in considerably higher than our 0.91% right now. And where it's sitting now, I don't think there'll be a whole lot of councillors terribly happy with it. I am on the finance committee and I do have the draft, but I don't know if I can say it. So I don't think I will, because I just don't know how freely I can speak, but it is higher than the 0.91%, and that's all I'll say for now.
Yeah, thanks for that. You're right about how everyone has a wish list, but then again, like the warden says, everything's in disrepair, and then certain things that the county does take on as ambulance and long-term care with that one building that they have there, as well as there's another one that slips my mind right now, but there's a lot that county has to pay for out of their budget. So
there's a lot of outside agencies. Paramedics is a perfect example, social services and that. So there's a lot of considerations at the county level as well. So we'll be all of council will be seeing that between Christmas and New Year.
Thank you. Councillor Ward, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just have a light-hearted comment because it's a good news story for us. One, I just wanted to make sure that we're only going to have one splash pad in our township, and second, I was, if I may, second comment was I noticed that the marriage license forms, that there's quite a significant increase from 2020. So I guess that was from pandemic that there was more marriage license forms, and maybe that will continue into the new year. Anyways, good news story. Thank you.
Maybe the lovebirds will be flying in 2022. They were in 2021, so.
Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, just to build on Councillor Ward, I have no problem with us having a splash pad in Westwood if the Premier wants to pay for it fully. So he did say he would, so we'll see. I think final comment is thank you, Candace, to you and your team. I know this is a daunting process, putting together budgets, but I love the way we do it, and that you kind of spoon feed us department by department over 3 or 4 meetings, and then you bring it all together at the end. So it's not such a daunting document to look at because we've looked at it in pieces coming together. I think it honestly is a good news story locally for our residents, less than 1% tax increase. That's the part that we can control. And I think we're still building and adding and doing things in our township, but doing it with 1% is awesome. And again, to your point, we don't control the county and the school board pieces. We simply collect those and send them on. But I think overall a good news story that we continue to invest in our community and we're not falling behind. There's always things to do, and I think we use our money as wisely as possible. Thank you.
Great
You're
comment,
welcome.
Dr. Walsh. Normally I try to finish off the public meeting by saying such things as just what you did. So thank you for saving me on that behalf. So, but our hats off to staff for such a fine job over the past year. Every department that's come through has done their part, tried to save where they can, and done a good job for us here in the township and for the residents, obviously, too. So thank you very much. Candace, is there anything else that you'd like to add further to this?
No, just thank you for your support. It was a pretty painless budgetary process this year, even backing it up in meeting. It did create, there was moments of pulling it all together, just losing that month. You know, not going to lie and say that we didn't feel it. We felt it, but we're all, as management team, and then myself as the treasurer, just very grateful to see it completed and not having to carry it over the holiday season. So thanks for the support. And I suspect this will be the new, if supported by council, the new schedule moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. I think it makes perfect sense. And like you said, with the way the world works today, the faster staff can get on with the new year as far as ordering and doing business day to day. The quicker we can get at it with the monies that you need, then the better it is for all of us.
Exactly. We need to be out of the gate with the tenders as fast as we possibly can. It's a bit of a municipal race right now to see us out the door because it is slim pickings for contractors and supplies.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, and just to reiterate the fact that, like you said, there 7 years ago, there was less than $500,000 in our reserves for the township. If the pandemic had hit back then, we might have been in a deep trouble going forward, even though the government did step in fairly quickly to help us along this way. But we're not out of this mess yet. So let's just stay safe and carry on. So, all right. So then at this time, then I'll ask for a motion then to adjourn our public meeting. And also with this motion to accept this budget as presented for the tax rates that was presented, and then resume our regular meeting at 2:49 p.m. Motioned by Councillor Walsh proudly and seconded by Councillor Ward proudly. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you very much, staff. Okay, so now we're back into our regular council meeting. 2:49 as suggested before, and then back to our regular meeting. So now we are on our agenda, R9, Candace White, our CAO clerk treasurer, and this is regarding our management action list.
Thank you, Mayor. So the everything that you see there, December 14th, is set, except for the draft strategic plan. You're going to see that bump down to January, will be dealt with in January. You do see that there's been no dates assigned. We are able to have a second meeting in January as my absence has been delayed due to the latest COVID-19 impacts. So I will be around for the entire month of January. So management team will be taking a look at this list and making sure that everything, if we can still hold it and have a big meeting on January 25th, so be it. I wanted to gauge council's willingness to have a second meeting in January and to split it up if we feel the need, or if you want to, or do you just want to have a big meeting on the 25th of January? So I thought maybe we could have that discussion. Outside of that, you're going to see, the tax rate bylaw with the adoption of the budget will come forward. The Trent View Estates water rate bylaw, now that I have the Trent Hills rates for sure and what we're going to set, I decided to leave them as is, so we'll be able to bring that budget forward. The council remuneration, Jamie Robertson from MHBC about the official plan and intensity target rates. which the mayor and deputy mayor will be aware of. Some other things on here that you've seen. We're not declaring, you see the surplus assets for public works being bumped, and we keep bumping it because we can't declare something surplus and get rid of it until we've received the new one, and the excavator's still not in. So that's why that keeps getting bumped. The design build contractor work community center, fitness center. So you're going to see that go back out again and be retendered with a bit more money out of reserves to ensure that that project gets done and moves forward. If we're not able to secure a contractor this next round with more money, then we're going to have to request an extension for a year. So I will keep council updated, but once we've went out to procurement and I have secured a contractor and how much it's going to cost, all of that will come back to council in one package for your approval and whether you approve it or not. For me to come back and say, okay, can I have $100,000 more out of reserves? And then we go out and it's not enough, and then to keep going and re-procuring takes like 4 weeks. So we're going to go out, see what we need, and bring the contractor, hopefully the award of that contract and the amount of money that we need to go with it all at once, in hopes that we can get the shovel in the ground in the spring. And you'll see skateboard expansion. We've got great feedback from the public on that. So they're doing a final tweak of the design so they can get that quarter pipe or half pipe at the end that they all really, really want. And that's it. On to 2022. I will talk a little bit more in the CAO list about in-person council meetings and some other things, Mayor. So unless there's any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any questions at this time? All right, seeing no hands, then a motion to accept this management action list as presented then, please. Motion by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Okay, correspondence then for action. Next would be C6, Albert Heffernan, the Norwood Country Music Jamboree. This is regarding the community center rental fees.
Mayor, every time you move your head to the side, you like muffle right out that we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But when you're looking straight at us, it seems it's substantially clearer, but traditionally it's not that way. So I don't know why,
Okay.
but
Here I am. All right. So correspondence for action. C6, Albert Heffernan, regarding the community center rental fees.
thank
Council,
you.
no problem. Thanks for bringing that forward. I mean, it is recorded and we have enough problems with technology without listening to me mumble too. So that's perfect. Okay, yeah. So Councillor Ward, your thoughts, please, or comments.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I was just curious, do we have an attendance count that the Jamboree brings into our township? Like, it is a significant showcase in the summertime. I was just wondering if we had any attendance numbers that they've been able to have. That's probably.
No, the fire department may have an idea, so I can touch base with the fire chief and ask him, but that information hasn't been relayed unless Mayor, has it been relayed to you by Mr. Heffernan? And it hasn't been formally submitted to me that I'm aware of.
No, but being there, I wouldn't say probably 1,000 people in the day, I would think, because a lot of them sit in there around the big trailer that gets pulled in there, and they're all down in the main floor. Most of them, some are up in the stands, but I don't know. It can be confusing, I guess, because there's campers too, and they stay in the back sometimes, and one thing after another. So I would guess around 1,000 per day, somewhere around there. Any other comments or thoughts? Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I guess having read Mr. Heffernan's letter, which took a little while to read, being handwritten. I'm kind of struggling. As you've always said, Mayor, we're open for business. We always want to be able to do things in our township, and this has been an event that has been successful in the past. But I'm really struggling to understand exactly what the ask is, what days we're looking at, what hours we're looking at. And we do have a donation request policy and a donation request form that we typically ask people to fill out. And I'm really struggling because I'm not sure what the ask is, and it's really not on the form that we would typically sit down and review and make a decision on. So I'm struggling.
Yeah, I understand. It is a private function, and I do believe that Mr. Heffernan keeps the proceeds for himself and his family, I would assume, and plus pay the people that come in to actually do the shows and thing after another. Deputy Mayor Burt, you had your hand up, please.
Yeah, I had the same concerns with Councillor Walsh because it wasn't on the form and there wasn't a direct ask. He did mention somewhat what the cost of the kitchen was when Hayden Taylor was using it, and that came to, I believe, $667. But then when I looked on our fees and bylaws charges, just in a roundabout way with what he was asking, it would be the cost, in my opinion, was closer to 1,000. So again, it doesn't really mention what he is after. So, you know, it is a business, but it is a business that is exposing our township to some good things. But I would like to see an ask on the form and exactly what he is asking for before we say yes or no, whether it's you know, a day of use of the Millennium Room or exactly what he is after. So I am in agreement with Councillor Walsh to see exactly what direction he's going in.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. Anyone else from council have any comments or concerns? Councillor Ward, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Yes, I concur with the Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Walsh. I would like to see something, you know, more formal request for, you know, exactly what the needs and wants are for the Jamboree.
Okay, thank you. Is there any clarification, Candace, that you have on your end, or are you just going by the letter as well as what council's doing too?
Well, I can say that we can again request to have the proper form submitted and do our best to get that back to council at the January meeting for your reconsideration.
Okay, there you go. So it looks like we should have, that would be a motion of council then, Candace, that we'd send this back to ask for that letter?
But you would receive it for information because it's a non-support. So you would receive it for information and direct staff to request that Mr. Heffernan complete the appropriate donation form for council's consideration at a future meeting.
Excellent. You heard the motion, council.
Yeah, I'll pass that.
All right, thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. Any other comments on the motion? Discussion? No. Seeing no hands, all in favor. And that's carried then. Thank you. Next would be C7, the Christmas Day Dinner Committee. This has been done before in the past, pre-COVID times. I believe last year it was canceled for COVID reasons. What's council's thoughts or concerns on this today then? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Yeah, it is an excellent group of people that put this together and get meals to those who may not otherwise get that. Now, I guess my only question would be is this is a group of volunteers that will be using the town hall kind of for their base. I understand they're not going to be cooking out of there, but for their base to hand them out and for a warm up spot. Because we have the vaccination policy in place, I guess who is responsible for checking those vaccine and screening requirements in order to get into the municipal building? because certainly on Christmas Day, there won't be staff available.
Right. So they're a renter, so they will be responsible. And it's my understanding that they're just handing them out. So we'll just be worrying about the volunteers being vaccinated, not the people actually coming in to pick up the meals.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. It would just be the volunteers.
So we'll ensure that those that are volunteers are vaccinated, and we can do that ahead of the event. And then if they have anyone new popping in to volunteer that hasn't been vetted through the township, then we'll pass that responsibility on through agreement to Miss Latone. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, council, at this time? Councillor Ward, please.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. I would be in favor of allowing the donation and use of the township hall, or town hall, I should say, on Christmas Day. I think it's a great cause, and what a way for people to volunteer their time to help others in need.
Okay, that's a motion. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Burt, is there any other more discussion on the motion then? Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, just through you, Mayor, just to pass a comment. So if you look at the last two letters we've looked at, this is an example of what I would call how to do it. They basically gave a little letter as to what they're looking for. They filled out the form, so it really makes a decision on our behalf pretty simple and easy to make. Whereas the previous item we discussed, we weren't there. So that was really my only comment. But no, this is a great cause, and I'm glad we're able to support.
Okay, thank you. So just for clarification, then they're not actually going to be cooking the meals then. I think they're going to be coming basically frozen and handing them out. So just for anyone at home, we are watching this live, that just for clarification reasons. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, duly seconded. All in favor then? And that's carried. Thank you. Merry Christmas. All right, C8, Regional Municipality of Durham regarding bus stop dead end roads. Who'd like to start off that conversation? Councillor Ward, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I would say to receive the report. I think that it's specific to their location and the dealing with their school board and other Ministry of Transportation. So I would say to receive the report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder to that? Councillor Walsh. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor then? Passed, thank you, carried. All right, councillor liaison reports on the agenda. Does anyone have anything that they can talk about at this time? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
I just want to give a heads up to the rest of the councillors. They're on our county council meeting tomorrow. There's a draft ORV report coming from Transportation Master Plan, and it will be available online. It's open for comment, and I'm sorry, I don't know the date for comment, but it is available, and I'm sure it will be coming out through our township communications. So just be on the lookout for it. It's a huge report. It's 475 pages, but it includes all of the previous meetings. So just a heads up, take a look at it. And I'm wondering, and I guess this might be a question for Candace. It's certainly something we can comment on individually, but perhaps it's something we should take a look at as a council and comment on it as well. What are your thoughts? I guess until we see it as a whole, maybe we should wait for that, but just giving you a heads up.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look. 475 pages.
Like I say, it's the first part that's important. The last are previous reports that and presentations to other councillors and that sort of thing. So you don't have to read 475 pages.
They get me for 50. That's about it. And then after that, so they better say what they have to say in the first 50.
Yeah.
But I'll take a look and then take a look at the commenting period. And if it's something that I feel staff can just answer and the commenting period goes beyond our next is before our next council meeting, then we'll just move ahead. But if it's an extended commenting period into February, and I feel council needs to maybe have a kind of a collective thought that we want to put forward, then we'll bring it forward then. But if there's no council meeting before it closes, I think staff will just, I think we have a pretty good handle on what we'd like to see across the county. We've discussed it enough times. So, so stay tuned unless council really wants to see it and really wants to have collective thoughts, and then we'll have to hold a special council meeting.
I'll just see while we're talking here. I'll continue on. I'll see if I can find the commenting period when it ends.
Okay.
But carry on.
Yeah, just further to that about the recreational vehicles on different roads. We know it's controversial in our township. Some say yes, some say no, and a lot just do it anyways because it does run with the, I believe, OPP standards as to how the vehicles run on a road, runs under their jurisdiction. So, yeah, there's a lot to it. The consultant for the county that they hired, I don't know, seemed to go above and beyond different things, but to me, it's a lot of just words. So I don't know how we take it or where we go from there, but it's been controversial at county for 7 years since I've been around anyway. So
Well, you're going to pay a lot of money for a 475-page report, regardless of how many reports it took to put together. I know what $50,000 gets you, and it's not 475 pages of anything.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, hopefully there's something on, hopefully it brings the issue to a close.
And I would doubt it does. Anyways, is there anyone else that has anything under the council liaison reports? All right, seeing no hands, thank you very much. On to the CAO clerk treasurer's list then, Candace.
Thank you, Mayor. So community safety and well-being plan. As council is aware, kind of the city took the lead on this and has been holding joint, created a task force that had, I don't know, I appointed Mel to that committee, which I still like her, and I apologize, but I did it anyway. Appointed her to that committee, and I don't know, there's like 25 people on the committee approximately, and they've gotten really not very far. And so they've come back to the CEOs and stated that they want basically till this time next year, and need more money and need to stay at it. So the CAO of North Kawartha is the co-chair. She decided to volunteer her services to try to help move this along, and it's not working. So at the CAO meeting, I decided that Asphodel-Norwood is no longer going to be a part of this community safety and well-being plan process. We're not giving it another year. We're not giving it more money. And I asked the CAOs that border us, meaning Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, Duro, Dummer, if they would like to take the draft plan that Asphodel-Norwood kind of had together 2 years ago and run with it and put it out to the public along with the draft report from the city and put it together, adopt the plan, get it into the province, and put check marks in all of those boxes by July 1st of 2022. They are in favor. I have got contacted by the CAO of Kevin Monaghan, who would also like to jump on our ship. So we will be sending an email out at the beginning of January and booking a meeting with us 3 or 4 municipalities. I suspect it's going to be all of us in the south. North Kawartha and Trent Lakes have decided to stay on with the city. They just border the city at the top end and northern, and they just have a different, really makes no sense. The province really wanted regional plans, but the way I see that where the city's going, the regional plan isn't really going to be conducive to us. So I kind of spoke out of turn a little bit, didn't know if I would get any support, but they all supported. I think another year and more money is absolutely ridiculous considering they've hired a full-time person to do it. So I am looking for council's thoughts. If you would like me to go back and take part in the city Peterborough plan, I can probably do that. Although it may be uncomfortable to have to ask to get back in, considering I kind of jumped all over it without speaking to you in advance. But it just seemed ridiculous to me. So I will take your thoughts before I move on to the next topic at hand.
But just before I take any comments from council, just for the public, Candace, can you explain a little of the background of what they're looking for or what this committee would be bringing to the public to be able to help? Just in a Cole's notes.
Well, I can tell you what the provincial intent is going to be, or what it was, and I can tell you what it's actually going to mean on the ground and where I made the decision and recommendation I'm making.
Okay.
So one, the provincial intent is for these regional plans to take a look at community safety and community well-being. So it's going to take a look at financial pressures, mental health, homelessness, policing, all of those pressures that families have on a day-to-day basis, and regional solutions to address those. Maybe it's transportation. What are the roadblocks in a family or individual's way to be wholesome and well? And so there is, in the new Police Services Act, so in the new Policing Act that was adopted by the province, there's this mandate for all of us to adopt these community safety and well-being plans to address those issues. Obviously, the OPP's at the table, City of Peterborough Police, mental health organizations, PRHC, the different municipalities, people that represent homelessness, people that represent different volunteer boards that provide all of these services for the residents of the city and the county. So you have to reach out to the public and find out what they feel their biggest pressures are: employment, homelessness, financial pressures, transportation is probably the biggest one at the county. So if you can't get into access to services in the city. So all of those, and put them into a regional plan. That's the provincial intent. What I actually feel it's going to do on the ground in Asphodel-Norwood is none of that. And I feel that a plan that is put in place by our neighbors in the county, that we share Highway 7 corridor with, that we share policing services with, that we share the same employment pressures, financial pressures, and transportation pressures with, we actually may be able to have a conversation, whether that's growing community care, whether that's seeing if there's another organization in the city that was willing to come out to the county, actually have conversations and not part of a group of 25 people with a full-time person that I've yet to speak to. Not once. No idea what the pressures are in Asphodel-Norwood. So I feel that if we continue on in the regional plan, what we're going to get is a piece of paper that's going to sit on a shelf. We're going to be compliant with the province, and we're going to have something else for our facility caretaker to dust. But if we have something that is actually conducive to the actual issues in Asphodel-Norwood and is a bit smaller and streamlined and identifies actionable items that we can actually put into play that our residents have asked for, then that's us doing our jobs. And staying a part of this regional plan with the city of Peterborough, to me, is not doing my job for the residents. And so to answer your question, the plan can be something I think that can be used, although I don't think it's going to be as big of a tool as the province intended it to be ever. But because there's no money coming with it. So it's not like they say, here's your plan, put all these actionable items in to address all of these larger concerns. Because to me, this is a social servicing plan. This is what we pay social services for. But again, I don't want to be on my soapbox. Bottom line is, I just am looking for council's thoughts on, city of Peterborough versus a couple of municipalities in the county getting together and getting the plan done by July 1.
Thank you. I'll save my comment to the end. Deputy Mayor Burke, please.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of communities trying to come together and perhaps save money and time, but it just doesn't work. There's such a diverse range of needs certainly between the city and even between townships. Our township is completely different than what is needed in Trent Lakes. So I like your approach, Candace, and fully support going forward with your suggestion and those communities that want to jump on the bandwagon. And yeah, so that's my comment. No questions, just a comment.
Thank you. Anyone else in council? Councillor Walsh, please.
Yeah, and I would just reinforce what Deputy Mayor Burt said. You know what, let's just find some like-minded local municipalities that have potentially like needs and wants, and let's develop a plan that'll actually work for us versus something that may work for the city of Peterborough, but really not help us out here in the smaller municipalities. So I'm fully supportive of proceeding. It's not just a matter of getting it done, but we actually might get something done that has more value for our township and our residents.
Good comment. Anyone else at this time? All right, thank you. My only comment or question, I guess, was the person that was chairing that meeting, Candace, were they a city employee, a city staff, or was it a counselor from the city? Or was it a
No, it's a
consultant?
city, the chair, the co-chair is a city staffer.
Right. So just my comment, and I'm in full support of us getting away from that too, is that just even listening to the news last night, and it's a bit of a rant, but they're not listening to the people as it is. They're doing a twin pad that it was left on their list as far as what the public really wanted. So, I mean, if we can steer clear from them, I think we're going to be better off in the long run and do our own thing. And let's hope that more municipalities in our area do jump on board with us and that we go somewhere to actually help. Thank you for that, Candace.
Okay.
So you have more on your list, please?
Yeah, so I just want to touch base with the in-person council meeting. So LR Brown was out and I met with him at the Millennium Room. We do have a solution in place. The first solution was $130,000 in order to be able to do a hybrid approach for in-person and Zoom meetings. That's the Cadillac. We do have some municipalities directly around us that have been able to move forward with that, but they have a specific council chamber room. We're investing that into infrastructure that doesn't need to move, makes sense. That is not the case for us. So we have been able to find a much more feasible solution that we're going to practice. It is sitting in my office. It got delivered today. So it's sitting in my office. So in the beginning of the new year, Mel and I are going to go and set up a mock council meeting, set up a Zoom and give it a whirl. And it's called the Owl 360. And it sits on a tripod in the middle of the room. And it basically goes to voice. So who's ever speaking, it zooms to that voice. It's a hybrid model. So you can have people on Zoom. You can have people in the room. So I think it's going to work out. But again, it is a pittance of the cost of the Cadillac. So we are hoping that it should work out okay, because there's not really a whole lot of solutions in between the two. So stay tuned and send us well wishes for that mock council meeting to go well. Peterborough Public Health Letter of Instruction. So two big things, January 4th at the community center and in all of our municipal facilities, we have to be scanning QR codes only. So we do have a couple of old cell phones at the office that we have for spares. We're going to be booting them up, and hopefully we have two that'll be able to take the new app. We're going to put the township logo or property of the township of Asphodel-Norwood on the back of those cell phones, because they're going to be used to scan the QR codes coming in, so people know they're not personal cell phones being used scanning. Obviously the information isn't retained. It's a one check and done on to the next person, but just to alleviate any concerns. Shouldn't be any issues getting that into place January 4th at all, since we're already doing the checks anyway. So that was a nice little step. They have issued 2 letters of instruction. I did send them out to council yesterday. We will be discussing them at management team. One of them is to have a rapid antigen testing program, even in place for those people who are vaccinated. So I need to take a look into that, because we can no longer get the rapid antigen test from Dave Smith's office in the city of Peterborough. They have shut down that portal, so we have to order directly from the province and then get as many as we can get. They've also introduced the letter of instruction is a work from home mandate. So if you can work from home, you shall work from home. As council is aware, the municipal office is closed for emergency repairs. It'll be back in tomorrow. And we do have flooring, the subfloor ripped up in there, and suspect we'll be ripping out a substantial amount more. Looks like the fix is going to be pretty simple. I do have a couple of staff that have went in. Going in, I'll be in the office tomorrow afternoon, but it is intermittent. So I think there's going to be just some staff people permanently placed at home, and those of us who are comfortable going in, we will continue to do so. I will keep council abreast of how that moves forward. Obviously, we are nothing if we can't turn on a dime, because it comes into effect midnight tonight. The OSIF, so I wanted to touch base on that. So the Westwood announcement, thank you to those counselors that reached out after that announcement. It was probably a career highlight for me. I don't know if I will ever probably see that again. I've also seen emails from mayors across the province sending emails thanking for advocating for the complete revamp of the OSIF program, because their municipalities, especially in Northern Ontario, that we're seeing an infrastructure deficit. We're getting some substantial money. So we're talking real Northern Ontario. So we're seeing some Asphodel-Norwood is definitely, probably they've never heard of us as much as I'd never heard of them. But it's nice to receive those emails from them. Victoria Street update. We're getting close. So I may get an early Christmas present. So stay tuned. I'll be sending out an email once I'm opening that gift, if you know what I mean, and sending that email out to you guys to let you know when the street is able to open. It's important to realize that it will not be paved. We're not paving the street right now, and we don't want to put down sacrificial asphalt that we just have to pulverize in the spring. So it'll be, graded, hard packed, plowable, and passable by obviously pedestrians and vehicles for the winter. All of the in-ground work will have been completed, so we will not have to rip up and excavate the street again. But asphalt, curb, sidewalk, the surface infrastructure needs to go in. The hydro on the north side of County Road 45 for the windstorm that went out. We spoke to a couple of residents. As you know, it is a Peterborough County road. They are the first point of contact, so we reach out to them to get updates. But hydro did come on last night. I know internet depending on your provider, depends on when you get internet. So some internets were up and running at 9 a.m. this morning. Others were still working on it, but obviously Hydro One trumps all the other utilities. Some residents have reached out they have a fair bit of, unfortunately, frozen foods or fresh foods that they need to throw out. So we are allowing them to access the transfer station to dispose of their freezer contents or fridge contents that they weren't able to save. And we will be not charging them for disposing of that rotten food, unfortunately. But Peterborough County staff came and took over the closure of the road to relieve our fire department. Hydro has worked as fast as they can, getting the product that they needed for the transformers and the poles. It was, and the residents that were affected, our heart goes out to you, and I hope that you start to rally soon, but hopefully by tomorrow, as much of the effects that they can clean up should be taken care of. So that's it for me, Mayor. Oh, and the interim audit was canceled. I think I mentioned that, but moved to January. It's supposed to be tomorrow. Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you. A lot on your list there. Any more questions of Candace on her treasurer's list and so on? Councillor Walsh, please.
Just a quick question through you, Mayor. Candace, for the event on Saturday evening, can you just give a quick rundown on where it is, what time, anything we need to do to help?
Yeah, so it is from 5 to 8.
Okay.
The County Road 45, I believe, is going to be closed down just after 4-ish, like 4:30-ish. It is going to be closed and up, I believe, to Alma Street. We are hoping to have the Victoria Street parking lot, the Bags parking lot, open for parking. Even if the street isn't fully open, we're going to get some fencing moved to create some parking spots there off of Alma to relieve some parking congestion.
Yep.
The town hall will be open with vendors in it. There's going to be Christmas characters walking around handing out things for the kids. There's vendors in the town hall, vendors in the library, vendors on the streets. The shops that are located in that area are opening for the evening. There's hot chocolate. The first 5 vendors, our first 5 shoppers at every vendor gets $10 towards their $20 purchase or more. So that's a $50 incentive to each vendor. It is full COVID protocols to get into the town hall to see the vendors. So it is proof of vaccination and masks, and we are limiting the number of people that can get in there at one time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question on your list there, Candace, about the QR code there. That's that special code that the government's handing down, I guess, that we checked. I do know there's a bunch of seniors in the area and around other areas that don't even own a cell phone or anything like that. How are they going to be looked after that way? Would there
They
be a
don't have to
code?
have a cell phone. They just need to print the receipt, but they just need to have the receipt with the QR code on the receipts. And then it's up to us to have the cell phone to scan their paper.
I see.
So they don't need to have a cell phone. If they have a cell phone, then they show us a QR code and we scan cell phone to cell phone, but they just have to make sure that they have the receipt that has the QR code printed on it that we can scan.
Okay, thank you. That's good clarification. Deputy Mayor Burt, you're muted.
Yeah, through you. And just I noticed at the Westwood Library, and it would be at the Norwood one as well, they are assisting anybody who wants to come in to help them get that printed for them, for those who don't have cell phones.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns about the CAO clerk treasurer's list? No, seeing none, thank you. Is there anything under general business at this time then? Councillor Ward, please.
Through you, Mayor. Just a question to Candace. I was just wondering if the health unit had reached out about doing another vaccination clinic at the community center, if there has been any chatter about that.
No, we held one there, was it December 7th? And that's been it. They haven't released their January date yet. Though I suspect they will be back for sure. Definitely. They were really happy with the number. I think we've seen 300, just over 300 vaccines given out on that date. So they were happy with that. I think 295 were booster shots, and the remainder, like some first doses and some second doses as well. The pediatric clinics, they send the 5 through 11, they seem to be hosting at the school. So they had one at the high school, or Norwood District Intermediate and High School, sorry. So they did have a recent date there, I believe the same week as the community center, but we don't have another date yet for the community center, but I suspect that we'll see one in January. And as soon as I know, I will definitely let you guys know. They always know we're willing. So that Millennium Room will be theirs anytime that they need it to be. They just have to ask, and they know that. So I'll let you guys know as soon as I know.
Sounds good.
Deputy Mayor Burt, senior hand.
Yeah, I just have a question going back in what you had mentioned previous about the new fitness center and the retendering. Do we need to pass a motion on that process that needs to be perhaps changed, or I'm just not sure the process going forward because it does need retendered?
Right. So I didn't bring anything forward asking permission to tender it. So like there's no council motion to tender that job. So you guys passed the contribution agreement. So we have to we retender jobs regularly, like probably at least to a year. Sometimes it comes for different reasons. Retendering has to happen, and we don't traditionally come back to council and delay the process to ask permission to retender, because if you don't like the results, you don't approve an award. So the final decision comes back to you. Traditionally, at least not in this setting, have we ever got permission to procure something, because it tends to be approved with the adoption of the budget. So if you would like a motion to give permission or grant direction to retender the project, I'm fine with that. I just wouldn't want that to be the new norm, that I have to come back and ask to get council permission to retender every single time for all of the little nuances that we run into throughout the year. That would be all.
Yeah, no, I just wanted clarification, because I just wanted to make sure, because it's a grant, that we had every, T's crossed, I's dotted. But if there's no issue,
there
then
would be no doubts there.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. So that was more the reasoning for that question. But no, you didn't get anybody, so it has to be done and it has to be looked at. So
they only care that we don't sole source. As long as we don't sole source. So if I was to make a recommendation to council to sole source it, I have to notify them that we're sole sourcing, and sole sourcing doesn't mean we're awarding it to one person that submitted a bid. That's not sole sourcing. Sole sourcing is not going through procurement. So meaning we didn't tender it at all, which sometimes that happens. But in this case, for the grant, you just have to tender it. And obviously we will have tendered twice. So I'll be able to sign the treasurer affirmation or declaration stating that we followed all of our procurement policies, not just once, but twice, to ensure that we're in compliance. The biggest decision that I'm going to bring forward to you guys will be once that process is ended. And that's going to be, here's the contractor, hopefully, and this is how much it's going to cost us to get it done.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted some reassurances on the process. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just under general business, that's what the subject we're on right now. I just wanted to bring up the fact that with PPH, different things are going on out there, and that this Omicron thing is heading our direction, so we're told, and we just have to be ready for it. It's not like we haven't been there before, but we just have to make sure that that our letters go out proper, that people understand it's not necessarily us as a council that makes all these decisions. It is the health board and the World Health Organization that puts these policies in place to try to protect the public. And as we know, we're surrounded by a few municipalities where the people don't seem to want to get vaccinated and to keep the public safe. So we're doing our part best we can, and we just have to keep up the good work and hopefully get the word out. You just need to be patient. And if this comes back, I'd say that we have nobody to blame but ourselves for different parties that have occurred around the areas and the different shenanigans that go on downtown through a lunch hour, one thing after another that the parents should be aware of, without the kids wearing masks and one thing after another, and passing over their vapes and one thing another, and just stuff like that. It's crazy times out there, and it's not going to get any better unless we fix this ourselves. So I just want, under general business, I would just say that health board's going to keep us well aware of what this new Omicron is going to do for us in our area, and be prepared. It's not probably going to be fun for us. So thank you. Anyone else have anything under general business? All right, seeing none, then we have a closed session on our agenda today. So I would ask that we suspend our regular council meeting at 3:34 with a motion, and that we stop the live YouTube, and then we go into closed session. I need a motion for that, please. And this closed session, sorry, is to discuss one item regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, in accordance with section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2000. And that's the reason why. All right, a motion by, please. Councillor Wall.